us here on the Monday morning edition of the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Calvin. Tyler Keefe is taking a little bit of time off. Calvin, I don't even know your last name. Hey, we just want to let everyone know, you know what? This is going to be a little bit of a fun show because Calvin is kind of learning the board while Tyler enjoys some well-deserved vacation time. My last day was supposed to actually be last week, but I extended a few days to help them out. And I will say, though, my back has been out. And so this is the first time I've left my house since last Wednesday. And so let's just see if we make it through the show. But it could be fun, right? We're learning on the job, Calvin.
It'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited.
You can tell he is.
Hooray.
But, hey, tell us a little bit about yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Calvin Brown, as you all know. The brown is my favorite color. Not really. My favorite color is orange. And I love doing goofy games, and I'm a loud and funny person. I've got a lot of energy. That's about it. I have a lot of energy, but I'll keep it subdued so that Ronnie can bring us the best show she can.
Oh, please. Calvin, I have to say, so you like games? Do you play board games?
Yes, I love gaming on the board.
Are you like video games, though?
Both.
Oh, okay, because our family, we do a bunch of board games, and you know, it's good fun.
Yeah.
But some of them today they get a little crazy, these board games.
Yeah. Which one's your favorite?
There are so many. So Blank Slate is a good one when you have a big crowd of people, because especially when it's old and young, it's a little. Let's say it's PG.
Yeah.
That's probably, we play left, right, center a lot too.
I love left, right, center. I play that on New Year's Eve. That's our gambling game. I'm not saying like I'm not promoting gambling on New Year's Eve, but we love throwing quarters in and just playing like left, right, center. Such a simple game.
It really is.
It's so much fun.
But I never win. Sometimes though, our pot gets up to like like well over $100.
Yeah. You just like. It's a big game, and you just let it ride. You just low commitment. It's a very low commitment, high fun, high stakes game.
Well, Calvin, it's great to have you on the team. Are you going to be sticking around after Tyler gets back as well?
We'll see.
Well, good. Well, it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I had a friend over from California.
Oh.
Yeah, they did some animation for some cartoons, and they just came back from California, and we hung out.
Well, that's good. Yeah. I spent mine in bed.
Well, you could have hung out with anyone in your Slumberland dreams.
Right. I will say, so I binge watched so many different shows, and I don't like sports, but I love Real Sports with Brian Gumbel and 30 for 30. Ooh. So I binge watched 30 for 30, and I have a question for you. Okay. Competitive eating, is that a sport?
Of course. Joey Chestnut, the #1 hot dog eater in America, national conies, like Nathan's dogs. Competitive eating, it's funny you say that, because I actually do have a few like other competitive eaters that I could bring up, because there's also Kobayashi. He is a Japanese competitive hot dog eater. He's known for unhinging his jaw so that he can fit more hot dogs down his throat.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he's impressive. I remember seeing that one year. I was visiting my cousins, and I saw that on TV, and I was like, this is wild. They like dunk their hot dogs in the water and stuff. It's like the exact opposite of enjoying your meal.
And so with that, you should watch that 30 for 30 because it really is the competition between Joey and the other guy.
Kobayashi?
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
But he talks about kind of his method on how he does it. And also when he was basically banned from Nathan's hot dog eating contest. It really is fascinating. But I'm kind of like with some of these, is it really a sport?
Yeah.
And they argue how it is a sport, but also how it took off with ESPN, and it was all PR and marketing that really made it happen, and look where it is today.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing like esports. Is it a sport or is it a competition?
Yeah. Competitive eating's tough too, because it's like people are just like, oh, there's nothing sporty about it. But a lot of people have to go through a lot of physical stress and training just to even get on par with some of the competitive higher level people. And that's the same with esports. And it goes from just relaxing your esophagus to having good physical hand control. they're sporty. I think they're sporty, but like, we got to redefine what a sport is soon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother and I have this discussion all the time. Is it a sport or is it a competition? And some people too say skateboarding. This is the first time it's been in the Olympics. You know, is it a sport? Is it a competition? How do you judge it? You know, it's kind of, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
opinion based.
makes you think about ribbon twirling too. Like, you're like, that was a sport. Yeah. How did you judge that?
I was not a ribbon twirler, but, you know, we did have the flag team. I do remember that. Hey, but hope everyone had a great weekend. It was beautiful weather, at least on Saturday. I know storms kind of ran through the area, some places last night, but tired of all this rain, though. Saturday was really nice, and it looks like the rest of the week is going to be nice, a little bit cooler as well. So hopefully you can get out and enjoy it, because I will say, COVID-19, the crisis is still here. Dr. Anthony Fauci warning that more pain and suffering is on the horizon as COVID-19 cases continue to climb, and officials plead with the unvaccinated Americans, get your shot. Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, also said he doesn't foresee additional lockdowns in the U.S. because he believes enough people are vaccinated to avoid a reoccurrence of last winter. But it's not enough to crush the outbreak at this point. Fauci warns Fauci's warning comes days after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention changed course to recommend that even vaccinated people return to wearing masks indoors in parts of the U.S. where the Delta variant is fueling infection surges. With the switch, federal health officials have cited studies showing vaccinated people can spread the virus to others. Most new infections in the U.S. continue to be among unvaccinated people. So-called breakthrough infections can occur in vaccinated people. And though the vast majority of those cases are mild or no symptoms, the research shows that they can still carry about the same amount of the coronavirus as those who did not get the shot. So about right now, about 58% of Americans 12 years and older are fully vaccinated. That's according to the CDC's data tracker. I will say, Calvin, I've pretty much put most of my mask away.
I wear my mask constantly, actually. Ever since November, I had actually caught COVID in November off of my parents. And after I moved out, I was just very adamant on, like, this isn't over. I'm going to keep wearing my mask. And, you know, they do it in Japan. Japan is a very mask-heavy culture. Like, you see people just having them around. I think it's a far long future until I don't have a mask on me. Just to be safe, yeah. Because I went to Hunter House Burgers in Birmingham with my friend over the weekend, and we walked into a room completely maskless, like no, packed to the brim, no masks line, and we were the only people wearing masks. And not to say like, oh, we're the only people wearing masks, but like it is kind of weird that like, oh, we are the only ones wearing masks, and stuff is kind of ramping up. I just want to be super safe. I'd hate to get someone sick or something.
Yeah, so, you know, I know Dr. Tweel said before when he was on, when you go out and you go to the supermarket or other places, it's like you said, you don't see a lot of people in a mask, but yet you have to think that there's probably a good portion of those people that did not get vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So, but hey, college kids, U of M, MSU, they are going to require COVID-19 vaccinations because of the fears of the Delta variant. Michigan's two largest universities announced they are going to require students, faculty, and staff to be vaccinated against COVID-19 to prevent the spread of the virus when students return for their fall terms. Both university presidents said the highly contagious Delta variant, which is behind a resurgence in cases here in the U.S., motivated their decisions. They aren't the first to require vaccinations. Albion College was the first here in the state of Michigan to announce a campus-wide vaccine mandate. Hundreds of colleges and universities across the country have issued some kind of vaccine requirement. The announcement came on the same day the state health department reported Michigan COVID cases totals have been rising for 4 weeks now. This week, the state added about 4,000 cases from the virus, up from 2,300 cases the week before and 1,500 cases the week prior to that. Many Michigan colleges and universities haven't taken the step, though some, including Wayne State University and Oakland University, did issue limited vaccine requirements that apply to students that are going to be living on campus. Western Michigan and Central relying on incentive programs to try to boost their vaccination rates. They're offering prizes, including gift cards and scholarships to students who get the shot. So we'll see if more and more people continue to get vaccinated, because the school year is right around the corner for college kids. They usually typically start moving in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, like early August sometimes.
So yeah, I'm thinking that most of it you'd have to be fully vaccinated at this point in time. You'd almost have to get the J&J shot.
Yeah, I think most kids are probably hip onto it, getting their vaccine. I just think it's funny. Incentive programs make me giggle a little bit. It's just like, oh, a little prize? Like, sure, I'd love to.
Right. Right. I think in the beginning it was like the beer and the donuts. I was like, okay,
yeah.
I'm down with that. If you're planning on going to Broadway to see a theater, well, you're going to have to prove you've been vaccinated for COVID-19, and masks are going to be required when the theaters reopen in the coming weeks. Audience members will have to wear face coverings and show proof they are fully vaccinated by a FDA or WHO authorized vaccine when they enter the theaters until at least the end of October. That's according to the Broadway League. There will be exceptions to the vaccine rule for kids obviously under 12 who are not yet eligible for any of the approved shots, and for people with a medical condition or religious belief that prevents the vaccination. Those individuals will need to show proof of a negative COVID-19 test. Masks are going to be required for the audience except while eating or drinking in designated locations. So the league said theater owners anticipate a review of the safety policies in September and may include a relaxation of certain provisions if the science dictates after October. So the move comes a day after the Actors Equity Association, the union which represents nearly 52,000 actors and stage managers, said it is going to require cast and crew members to also be fully vaccinated against COVID-19. We're seeing in Europe right now, especially in France, where you basically have what they're calling a health pass. And in order to be able to do a lot of things, including going to restaurants or going to the Eiffel Tower or to museums, you're going to have that pass to show that you've been vaccinated. I think it's just pretty much a matter of time where we get to something similar here in the United States, considering the surge in the cases with the Delta variant. I don't know. I mean, I guess, we've talked about it before here on the show. When we went to Africa a few years ago, we had to have all kinds of vaccines in order to fly. So I think for this one, maybe once it gets full FDA approval, people may feel a lot more comfortable. So with that, that's the latest headlines. We have a great show for you here on this Monday. When we come back, we'll be joined by Township Supervisor Steve Kaplan. We haven't had him on the show in a little bit. So we'll check in with the supervisor, see what's going on here in Oakland County in the West Bloomfield area. And then also 1040, our good friend Stacie Rene will be with us on this Monday to offer us a little bit of motivation to get the week started. That's coming up on the Oakland County Megacast.
Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Of the Megacast, I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios, hanging out with Kelvin Brown today, who is taking over for Tyler, who is out enjoying so much a needed vacation time. With us first up on the show, though, we want to bring in our good friend Steve Kaplan, the West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. It's been a little bit since we've had the supervisor on the show with us. Steve, hi, how are you doing? Happy Monday to you.
You might be leaving CCTV. How can we survive without you?
I think you'll be okay. In fact, last week was supposed to be my last day, but then my back went out on Thursday and Friday, and they were a little short this week, so I'm helping them out for a couple days. But it's been a fun ride because I've gotten to speak with so many people, including great people such as yourself.
Well, we're going to miss you. I understand they're hiring 3 people to replace you.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But, Steve, I'm still in the neighborhood.
Right, you reside in Keego Harbor.
Right, so I'll still be bugging you.
Great. Always love seeing you.
Hey, so it's been a while since we talked to you. How's your summer going so far?
Doing well. We're flourishing at Town Hall. We had a shredding event on Saturday between 9 and 1. 517 motorists visited us, and we provided shredding services. And it also applies to Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and Keego Harbor.
I can say we're so excited to be included in that because in years past we haven't been. And my husband goes through so many shredders. He burns out the motor.
Yes. So have them visit here next time. We have the commercial shredders.
Steve, can I ask you, we're hearing so much right now about the Delta variant in the news. As a township supervisor, does it kind of raise your concern level a little bit, thinking we may be going back down the path the wrong way?
Sure. Unfortunately, we can't predict what will occur. It's been 100 years since the last pandemic in 1918. And it seemed that all was well, that it would be vanquished, it would vanish, it would be a bad memory. But now numbers are increasing, and the medical science is telling us that if you've been vaccinated, you're not likely to contract the coronavirus, and if you do, your symptoms will not be severe. But you're right, numbers are increasing.
One of the things that has been so nice, though, about this summer is we've been able to bring some of these events back that have been canceled because of the virus, especially over last year. And we know the summer months, so busy here in the township with a lot of the events going on. You guys have anything on the calendar from the township side of things?
We do, and thanks for asking. As you know, the art fair took place on July 24 and 25, and we had record-breaking numbers. It was a wonderful event for our community and for the neighboring communities. It was very rewarding, or at least it was very pleasing for us to notice people having a good time at the art fair, just enjoying themselves. I think our residents and the nearby residents need activities, that they were housebound in many ways for a long time. But we do have some upcoming events, Ronnie. For example, the Friendship Circle Walk was not our event, but it's Friendship Circle on August 29th. And we're having our annual Health and Wellness Fair at Town Hall. That's September 22nd between 11 and 2. So we'll have 40 to 45 vendors, and it's overseen by, of course, Suzanne Levine from the West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. She's a whirlwind, and we're looking forward to that event. And then the high school is having Family Fun Night on Friday, September 17th between 5 and 6:30.
So with that too, it's so great. The Friendship Circle Walk, I will say, is such a great event. And we know that it's very popular here, and we have so many people, and it's about raising awareness. Have you been able to participate in the past, Stu?
Oh, sure. Fortunately, it's not a marathon or a 1 mile race. I wouldn't make it. I could walk 2 to 3 miles easily and even drive a car 10 or 15 miles. But you're familiar with Bazi and Rabbi Shem Tov, and they're just stupendous for our community, and they're a jewel. You might have heard that they're building a water park.
Really?
On the premises where the shul's located.
Yeah. Wow, that'll be great.
Yes.
And hopefully the year that is it going to be finished this year or next year? Do you know?
Next year.
Well, hopefully next year we'll have a little bit nicer weather in the summer, because I don't know about you, but I am tired of all this rain.
Yes, it becomes old very soon.
From a township supervisor kind of position, Steve, when we get all this weather that we've been having, I know that the phone calls come in when the trees are down and the lights are out, but from a township standpoint, that's not really in your arena, is it?
No, good point on your part. So when a resident calls and he says a tree fell on his front lawn, it's on his roof, or he has flooding, he wants to know, what is the township going to do about it? He says, I pay taxes. Are you going to remove the tree? Are you going to eradicate the flooding? And because we're a township, we don't own the roads, we don't own the drains, we don't own the system, and therefore it falls under the county. But what we do is we have some kind people, good personalities, working in the building department and development services arena, and they explain what is needed. What we've done, Ronnie, to try to help people, we've actually had our engineer visit various homes to give some guidance as to here's what you need to do. Here's the department in the county that can help you. But very frustrating to the resident. She didn't ask for the rain. She didn't ask for the deluge. She didn't ask for the damage. And then she calls town hall and we say, not our responsibility, contact the county. So we're as kind and empathetic as we can be in responding, and we wish we could do more.
Yeah, because it can be frustrating. It's like you said, and at least having someone give you, the contact and the right contact, because there's nothing worse than getting a contact and then calling that second person, and then they say, no, it's not our responsibility, it's this person. So if you can at least help alleviate some of the frustration, I'm sure in the end it's appreciated.
If I may interject, the road commission obviously is responsible for drains on the road or the roadway itself, and the county road commission does not work for the township, but we have a good relationship with the road commission. We've cultivated a wonderful relationship with road commission leaders, and therefore we are able to call on behalf of our residents. So we're serving as intermediaries or conduits.
Steve Kaplan with us here on the Megacast. He's, of course, the West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. And can we talk a little bit more about one of the things that I'm seeing in my backyard? And I will say, I think they're adorable, but they're starting to become a big pain in my butt. All the deer. It seems like, Steve, we've seen so many more deer this year than years past, or maybe it's just my imagination.
No, the deer population is expanding. Farmington Hills and Farmington combined conducted a study and determined, I don't know how you do this precisely, 729 deer are residing in those areas. So I don't know if a deer is hiding. Is that number counted? So what are you going to do about it? People do call and they want to know, what are you doing, township, to eradicate the deer? And what we do not do in West Bloomfield is we don't kill them. We don't gather them and kill them. We don't have police officers shoot them. One way to reduce the deer population, and probably only in a nominal way, is for residents not to leave food for the deer. I mean, deer are really cute, they're beautiful, we like seeing them frolic. But if you leave food for the deer, then that deer has a great memory and she'll return to the area along with her friends and relatives. So that's one way to combat it, maybe in a very minor way. But
yeah,
more
but
important,
I can't, they ate all my tomatoes off my new tomato plant. And they've been after my hydrangea. I'm like, look, deer, baby deer, they're cute. But mama and papa deer, get out of my garden.
Yeah, you're not fawning over those deer, and they didn't pay for the tomatoes.
That was a good line.
What we're doing is, and we have to thank our neighbors in Farmington Hills. They have terrific city manager in Gary Metchian and a deputy city manager in Joe Valentine, and they are taking the lead. They passed a resolution at the city council level, and we should be doing so at the town board level next Monday. But this will be a regional approach. What are we going to do to reduce the deer population? And there are many ideas with scientists offering suggestions. So I think it's like a task force to reduce the deer population without eradicating the deer. Not sure we'll succeed, but thanks to our friends in Farmington Hills, at least there'll be a regional plan.
So, hey, Steve, can you talk a little bit about the importance of the relationship with our neighboring communities and the county as well, especially in the middle of a pandemic?
Well, sure. Maybe 100 years ago, you would draw a line in the sand. Don't cross the line. Don't visit us. We don't need you. But we truly are. We're global now within Michigan. They say it's a tri-county area, southeast Michigan area. But we're just because of a boundary line like 14 Mile and Haggerty, it doesn't mean we're not friends with Novi and Farmington Hills and other near Commerce Township. But sure, oftentimes there's redundancy. Why would you need to have 7 different task forces within southeast Michigan when you can have 1 or 2? So we do have good relationships. We meet the township supervisors, for example. There are 21 in Oakland County, and we have monthly meetings. We've been meeting by Zoom. But even if you're the smartest woman in the room, Ronnie, you can always learn from other people, other township supervisors who have similar issues.
Hey, speaking of that, can I ask, are you guys, are your meetings back in person yet, or are you still virtual?
We are returning to live meetings on Monday, September 13th, and that means our Zoning Board of Appeals, our Planning Commission, and our Environmental Commission also will be resuming live meetings on September 13th. I can't speak for the Library and the Parks Commission, which are wonderful organizations and entities, but I believe they're also returning to face-to-face meetings on September 13th.
So can you give us a little bit of the behind-the-scenes conversation on what it takes to be able to switch back in person? Because I believe when you guys were doing virtual meetings, didn't there have to be some type of declaration put in place in order to have the meetings virtual?
Sure. First, a municipality has to declare an emergency by majority vote of the city council or the township board. And we did that in March of 2020. I think it was March 18th. So we declared an emergency, and then we renewed that emergency status in February of 2021. So we still have the emergency status here, but the only reason we haven't rescinded the emergency status is if we need to return to virtual meetings, maybe if the pandemic explodes again and this variant starts spreading, then we don't have to declare an emergency. It's already in place. So our emergency status continues through December 31 of 2021. And we are looking forward to the live meetings. As you know, Ronnie, I mean, this is what you do. You're a telecaster, you're a moderator, you're an anchor, and you prefer being with people and seeing people than interacting through Zoom.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like those in-person meetings, the organic conversations, you know, the natural conversations that you wouldn't have. Yeah, you can have a meeting via Zoom, but it's the afterwards or the in-between chit-chat that leads and sparks new conversations and new ideas. I think that's what we've all been missing so much. But we do know that for some people, they also like virtual, especially when it comes to township meetings, because maybe they're at home, they can't get away, or they don't have childcare. So is there a possibility of any type of hybrid situation, or does it have to be one or the other?
The municipality could have a hybrid meeting wherein the meeting is live and all the elected officials are present at the meeting in one room, and residents would be able to attend virtually as they do now. But our township is not in favor of that mechanism. It's extremely cumbersome and intricate, and it would require each of the 7 board members to have a computer with them, flip computer, at the desk, and it's difficult logistically to accomplish. But we have found that if people want to attend a meeting, they'll attend the meeting. And also, if you can't attend a meeting, you can send us an email in advance, and we will read your email at the meeting and respond to it if we can. And perhaps our board, we could do something interactive like that with the help of Civic Center TV, but we haven't made a decision in that regard.
Steve Kaplan with us here on the Megacast. He's the West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. And Steve, I always like to ask about the budget. We're hearing so much about, billions and trillions of dollars that are coming through the pipeline and COVID relief money, which at the end of the day, people need to remember it's always tax dollars, and we want to see those tax dollars be put to good use. How is the budget for the township looking right now?
Well, as you know, we're on an annual basis, and by December 31 of 2021, we have to enact a final balanced budget. And West Bloomfield has always accomplished that. We're in very good state financially. We've been careful. We're conservative. We don't expend money needlessly. I mean, we view ourselves as fiduciaries, and we have several watchdogs on the board, and they're excellent in that regard. We do anticipate receiving perhaps $5 million through the federal government, and that money certainly will be helpful in terms of infrastructure and COVID expenses. So you might know that we need to renovate our police department. It was constructed in 1993, and it's past its prime in terms of usefulness. And so money could be used for those purposes. What it can't be used for is to increase people's salaries or issue bonuses. You might have heard in Shiawassee County, the county board awarded itself and other employees substantial bonuses in light of the money that came through the federal government, but they've rescinded that since. So we do not follow the Shiawassee County model.
I will say, though, on one side, I do kind of understand why they would do that, because a lot of people don't understand. So many of these positions pay very little, if at all. But I think it was the amount of the one guys. I mean, you can't give yourself like an extra, $26,000 and be like, hey. And then I always once the media finds out and it gets a little bit of attention, okay, we'll give it back, But I do think some of our elected leaders have really put in a lot of more time and effort throughout this pandemic in trying to help navigate their communities through the crisis.
Well, Ronnie, not to inflate the board members' competence or status, because the 7 of us could leave tomorrow and we would be replaced by 7 high-quality people. But we do view ourselves as fiduciaries. It's an honor to serve. Anyone who runs for public office knows what the salary is, and that person shouldn't complain later because suddenly he's overworked. You have to anticipate there will be emergencies, and for me and for my 6 colleagues on the township board, it's a privilege to serve.
See, that's why you're sitting in the township supervisor position there, Steve.
Thank you.
Hey, can I ask you too? We're still seeing empty storefronts right now because of the COVID-19 crisis. How do you go about trying to attract businesses back to the area? Because we know the housing market is doing great, but businesses are still struggling. From a township position, what can you do to try to attract businesses here to, start filling some of these empty storefronts?
Well, you've raised a good point. 95 small businesses in West Bloomfield have closed since March of 2020, and 55 new ones opened. So we're at a negative 40 status. What we did, thanks to the county, the county executive has been very helpful to us, and money was awarded to us to enable restaurants to offer outdoor seating. So you'll see various restaurants like the Library Pub, Sonny's on Orchard Lake Road, Mona's on Walnut Lake and Inkster, where there's outdoor seating, and we were able to accomplish that through funds provided through the county. But we don't have, in essence, an economic development employee on staff, but we're trying through our building department and development services department to facilitate the opening of new businesses. In other words, cutting the red tape, meeting more often, and offering so-called advisory opinions, because we want businesses to be here in West Bloomfield. Not only does it help the tax base, but to service the residents.
So is there a type of business that you think West Bloomfield is missing? Because you're lucky. I think West Bloomfield, one thing that you're lucky about is you have some great grocery stores. You know, for us in Kegel, Sylvan, and Orchard Lake, we're kind of in an oasis out there, a dry desert of a grocery store. So we have to come to your fine city to be able to get some.
Sure, and without going into details, because some of it is behind the scenes information, but we were very close to landing Nino Salvaggio's, and that would have been located on Orchard Lake Road north of Jeff Cawley's Ferrari, Cawley Ferrari.
Oh, that would have been a good spot.
Oh, would have been wonderful. And the reason it didn't happen, without giving details, specific details, is the sellers of the property, there were relatives, and they couldn't agree upon the price. So instead, Nino Salvaggio's opened at 15 Mile and Telegraph. I would love to see a grocery store of that nature or a market. I should tell you that where Barnes & Noble is located on Orchard Lake Road, we have a developer who plans to open a market, like a Mediterranean open market. And I think that'll be a draw for our residents and for the nearby residents.
Yeah, I could see that. That would work well there. I do miss that bookstore, though.
Yes. Oh, what a wonderful day. You could spend 2-3 hours at Barnes & Noble sipping your coffee, reading magazines and books and newspapers. They used to try to eject me. They said, buy the book. Don't read it here. But there's something about bookstores. It's where, people enjoyed congregating and they had similar interests. And it was a big loss to us to lose our Barnes & Noble.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think there are so few bookstores even left in the area. I think there's a Barnes & Noble over at that Rochester, the little outdoor Rochester place. But other than that, man, I used to spend a lot of hours over there at Barnes & Noble.
Me too.
Especially because they had Starbucks.
Right. And Borders is no longer functioning. The last Borders closed.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be able to download a book, because when you have an iPad, I do that, but nothing replaces going to the bookstore, like just going through the aisles and the smell of the books, and new books too, not like when you go to an old bookstore.
Right. There's a great feeling to actually holding the book, turning the pages. It's that tactile enjoyment, better than reading a book online.
Again, Steve Kaplan with us here on the Megacast, West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. Steve, before we say goodbye, anything else maybe I didn't add or ask that you want to add before we let you go?
Well, thanks, Ronnie. It's always a pleasure being on your show, and your leaving will be a great loss to the community. We do have our next Household Hazardous Waste Day. It's planned for Saturday, October 2nd, between 9 and 2. And the good news and the revision I can report to you is that we will be offering senior citizens, without the need for making an appointment, the opportunity to deliver the household hazardous waste materials to us on Friday. So it'll be Friday, October 1, between 4 and 6:30 p.m. Also, we're trying to increase opportunities for the shut-ins, people who are disabled, who can't drive to town hall. And so we're going to be working with the Parks Commission. Jennifer Tucker runs a great organization there, and we hope to be able to provide more services to our disabled residents.
I will say that is a great program, and to anyone out there, get there early because the line can get long trying to get in there. But I'll say they get you in and out pretty quickly.
Yes, they do. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate seeing you as always.
Well, thanks again for your time, Steve. We always appreciate it and all that you do for the township as well. And say hi over there to your entire staff. And happy summer to all of you. Any vacations planned?
No, not until December.
What? It's summer. It's summer in Michigan.
Right. I'll let you know.
Well, thank you again for your time. Enjoy the summer anyway, without a vacation.
All right, thank you.
We'll take a break here on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll be joined by our good friend Stacie Rene. Trying to get motivated on this Monday? Well, she's always a bundle of energy and gets us through the day. That's next here on the Megacast.
Get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win.
Stacie, you can go ahead and unmute.
Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st,
Hold on, we're just going to make sure
July
they unmute
30th,
soon for us.
2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com. Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including million-dollar jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Calvin Brown joining the team. You made it through the first segment, Calvin. Are you hanging in there?
I'm hanging. I'm hanging around and I'm in there. As everyone can tell, I'm clearly doing at least all right.
That's okay. I always say we're not brain surgeons, so it's all good. Don't worry about it. Of course, there are a lot of buttons to push and a lot to learn over there, so we appreciate your time and your help. As a reminder, you can always catch the Megacast, Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15 if you have Comcast, 99 on AT&T. You'll also catch us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff, and then I believe we are live streaming today's edition of the show on our Facebook page as well. It is Monday, and sometimes we wake up with the Monday blues.
The Mondays.
But instead of being blue, why not be energetic and just shift how you think about Mondays?
Oh, how's that?
With us now, Stacie Rene, motivational strategy speaker and the author of The Positive Shift. I have that book, by the way. Stacie, how are you?
Good. I have it right here, too. It is definitely a Monday. And I mean that with fireworks. See, you're going to make or break your own day here.
Thank you.
We need you every Monday just to have your energy. It wakes you up and it makes you think, be grateful for another day. It doesn't matter what kind of day it is. And I will say, as someone who is, this is the first day, Stacie, my back's been out, that I've been up and around and out of my house since Wednesday. And when you can't walk, you take a lot of things for granted. So as soon as I was able to get up out of the bed yesterday and start moving around, you're looking at everyone walking, and I'm like, I am so grateful to be able to get up. And it really is just changing how we think and being grateful for what we have.
It is. And I've been in your situation before, and I don't know what happened. It came out of the blue, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can't move. I got in the truck to drive. I'm like, I can't get out of the truck. And I just lost it. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And I was in so much pain. And I'm like, okay, I've got this. And I literally had to talk myself into I got this. I'm good. You know what? Just get down to the next step. And shift my mind into thinking it's okay, and I was dying. So I understand your pain.
I will say though, I didn't have that. I was getting a pedicure, and when I turned to get out of the chair, my back tweaked, and I had to have my husband come get me. I could barely reach the phone to call him. I know Calvin's over here laughing. I know. My husband's like, "Can you say that you were chasing down an illegal dumper or a bear or something?" No, I was getting a pedicure, and I couldn't even get my nails done.
Anything else?
I know. I was in so much pain, and I was crying. He had to come up and get me, and all the nail techs were like, "Is she okay? Is she okay?" So, but
I'm laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah.
My toes look great though. My nails, I couldn't even stay for the manicure. That's how much pain I was in, and it's so embarrassing.
See? The struggle is real, and you made it through. You got yourself through it, and now if somebody else goes through that situation, you'll be able to help them.
You know, I always say though, sometimes when your outside body breaks down, it's because the world is telling you to stop.
Yes.
Just stop. Because when you can't
if you're not going to, they're going to make you.
Yes, and that's exactly what happened to me. I had a million things on my to-do list, and I got none of them done, of course. But you have to reshift and realign and move on. And for someone in your position, I know that we have you on to kind of talk about how our struggles today can be our strengths tomorrow.
Absolutely. And you know, everyone sits there and they think, oh my gosh, this is the worst time of my life. What am I going to do? I don't know how to get through this. And let me tell you all, I have been there. I feel your pain. I feel your struggle. I feel you're wanting to pull your hair out. But then once we start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, or we start feeling better, you have to live off of those experiences. And what I tell so many people is, okay, you may have had a crappy boss. You may have had a friend that threw you under the bus, not like literally, but you know, like someone who, you know, didn't see your best interest. And you've also may have had a partner or spouse or relationship that, you know, you really went through difficult times. The nice thing about this is that you learn from your struggles. And therefore, you know what, I don't want to make that mistake. I learned from that. And then you're also able to help other people. You know, for instance, I remember working at this place, and I had this old supervisor that would get mad at me for everything that I did. And I finally said, look, I'm like, you see black, I see white, there's no gray in between. And we literally butted heads. And I just came to the compromise that, you know, I understand that you're going to see things differently, but you also have to open your eyes and see the way that I see things, because I don't look at things in a negative tone, where she was also just constantly beating that down. And so I'm glad that I went through that experience, because I have had several experiences since, and therefore it really helped me. And I was only 23 at the time, and it helped me be able to handle situations better now and moving forward. And I think that anyone who's going through things, don't get pissed off. I mean, I don't mean to be real and honest, but that's how you're going to feel. Don't be that way. Think about what you're learning from that. What can you take from that? And it's hard to think about that when you're in the situation. But if you take a moment to sit back and be like, they kind of had a good point. And sometimes we hear things that we don't want to hear, but we need to hear, if that makes any sense.
So with that, Stacie, too, sometimes it's hard to know when to walk away from toxic people or toxic situations, and when to stay and learn the lesson. How do we come to those decisions? It's like you just know in your heart when it's time, because your heart tells you.
You know, and, you know, let's learn some difficult situations, but there comes a point when you wake up every morning and you don't like how you feel. Only you can make that change. And here's the beautiful part about change. You are in control of it. You get to make the decisions that you want to make for your change in your life. And if you want to sit there and you want to continuously be in that, oh my gosh, I have to go to work today. Oh my gosh, I have to face this today. Then change it. And I know that it's not so easy, but it's baby steps. The first thing that you do in the morning, instead of, you know, if you feel you feel that way, wake up, write 3 things that you are grateful for that day. It can be your cup of coffee. It can be doing an interview on Civic Center TV. It can be just texting a friend. It can be so many different things. And it's the small, minute things that make all the difference in your world. So make the change. Decide what you want and what you don't want in your life. And then at that point, you move forward. And the nice thing about this, Kelvin and Ronnie, is the path that you guys take every day is on you. If you decide that all of a sudden you're going to take a different job, you're going to take a different task on, that is your task. You may do it for a year. You may do it for 6 months, a year and a half, 10 years. Those are my situations. Because I didn't feel like I was successful in it didn't mean that I was a failure. You know what? I am falling forward. And that's the biggest thing that we have to remember. You're not falling back unless you decide to fall back, to go a couple steps backwards. I always fall forward because I am learning something. And if I'm not trying different paths in life and I'm not trying new things in life, then I'm not pushing myself hard enough. I'm not believing that I can have a different journey to go through and take all those things, all the struggles, all the life paths, and learn from it to make my future better. And that's what we get to pass on to friends and children and family and everyone else. And you have to know what you want in life. And if you don't know, then call me and I'll help you.
You're definitely a very motivational type person as well, because every time I talk with Stacie, she's always just positive, and having a positive outlet really can change our life. And it's just a matter of how we go about getting there. So if someone is a negative Nelly, how can they change their habits?
Well, there's a couple of things. If somebody tells you that you are really kind of being negative, take that, listen, see how you view your life on things, and then try and change your morning. If you guys, changing your morning routine is the #1 key. And then the second key is how you go to bed at night. It sounds so simple, but if you have a million things racing through your head when you're going through your evening routine, and you're like, oh my gosh, I could have done this, I should have done this, dang it, I didn't accomplish this, or oh, that person really made me mad, then you know what? You're gonna go to bed with the 90% of those negative thoughts still in there, which guess what? When you wake up, boom, it's gonna be right there slapping you in the face because you've been thinking about it all night. If you sit there and redirect your thoughts when you go to bed at night and you think differently and say, hey, you know what? I'm really glad that I got this done. I'm really grateful that I gave my husband a kiss goodnight. I'm glad that I actually made dinner. And look at the things that you accomplished, even if you made your bed, even if you brushed your teeth. I mean, you've got 2 good things if you brush your teeth in the morning and at night. I mean, that's something to be grateful for because some people just don't. So think about all the things that you did, that you accomplished, and think about the wonderful things that you're going to do the next day. Not the woulda, coulda, shoulda done in the evening, but what you are going to do. And that really helps you get out of a funk, gets you out of your struggle. And sometimes it may take a week, it may take 2 weeks. I was there. And I just don't want to be there anyway. And it was like crawling out a hole, but it was hard. Yes, us positive people get that way too. I mean, listen, in life, you're going to suck at some things. That's the way it is. And
well, that's how you discover what you're good at. If you...
Exactly. And, I am not a singer, even though I'd really like to sing. I would love to, because I like being by myself and belting out a good song. But thank goodness my windows are not down and nobody can hear me, because when my kids do hear me, they're like, oh dear, please stop. But that's what we find out in life of what we're good at. Fall forward, trying something new, fall forward, trying a new sport, fall forward, taking a new journey, a new path, a new friend, meet somebody new every day, make that a part of your goal. Life is what you make it. Struggles are on you. Struggles are your strengths. Everyone, that is a beautiful thing to remember. And don't look at it as a negative thing, but also look at how far you've come.
Sometimes we forget. We forget to look back at where we started versus where we are now, because every day is a journey, but we're not appreciating the journey every day.
Exactly. And it's all in your mindset. All in your mindset. Your mind can take you down a really bad path. If you're driving down a dirt road and you see all these potholes and you're like, I'm really mad, this just sucks. I just got my new white car washed and now I've got all this stuff. And they're like, you know what? I guess I just get to go to the car wash again and just do it again. And you know what? Make my day happy. And just how you take things in your everyday life, how you interpret things is all on you. And let me tell you, if somebody makes you mad, that's on you. I have to tell you, that is a really good tip because, I was just at a restaurant with my husband this weekend. We went up to my hometown in Midland, and it was something so ridiculous. And he'd asked the waitress, about breakfast because I really wanted an omelet. And he's like, well, I just told you that she said that you can't have breakfast. I'm like, well, I just need to see for myself. He's like, I already told you. I'm like, well, I just need, and it could have turned into this big battle. And I started to get really angry, but I was like, no, we're not going to go there. You know what? He can win this one. He's right. He went out of his way to let me know, let my ego just come down because I don't always have to be right, and move on. And it could have ruined the whole rest of the morning and the day, but instead I let it go. We got on these really cool, little bike scooter things that I never rode on before, and we had a phenomenal morning. So something so small could have ruined the day. Instead, we had a wonderful day with the family outside. We laughed about it. It's just, think about those little struggles that you're going to have. Think about those little things that you are in control of. And sometimes you just need to back down and let your ego go to bed.
So with that, Stacie, I know we've talked to you about this before, but share with those that maybe aren't familiar your little trick to help us change that mindset when we are in that mode.
Absolutely. CCD. It's the easiest thing to remember. Cancel, clear, delete. Cancel out the thought, clear your mind, and delete what you were just thinking and get it on out of there and replace it with something positive. And I will tell you, I do this daily. And I've had people say they've done it 100 to 200 times a day, and that's fabulous because the first key to a positive mindset, to changing your mindset, shifting, is to catch yourself. So cancel, clear, delete, replace it with something positive, say a little mantra. My favorite one is, I am awesome, successful, and smart. I succeed at what I put my mind to. Again, ask, you can remember it. Awesome, successful, and smart. So CCD and ask. You're good to go for the day. Just the little things.
So should someone make up their own mantra?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can have your ones that are just quick and easy to go to until you get your own. I have one that, I made up for myself, and my children also use this same one when they can't sleep or they're having a bad day. They use it. But, again, if you don't know how to make up your own mantra, I can help you. Go online, find something that just feels right to you, and then tailor it to what your own needs are. We're all different. We all have different needs. We all have different lifestyles, different paths and journeys in life. So get something to tailor for yourself and what feels right. We're all given intuition, whether you like it or not, whether you choose to use it or not. Again, that's on you. But if you get this feeling, gut intuition, use it. Go for it. Go online. Find that mantra. What feels good to you? If that one doesn't work out for a whole week, get a new one. Try. It's the beautiful thing about life. You're in control.
Every day is a new day. Stacie Rene with us, motivational strategy speaker and mindset life coach. And Stacie, I will say one thing about me is I'm one of those people I cannot stand to see the little dots next to my message or my email or my phones. I have to clear them out.
The waiting, yeah.
Yeah, which is not always good because in some ways then I forget to get back to people. But sometimes I will put stuff on my to-do list that I've already done because I have the app. It's a reminder, and then it makes the little mark, like it sounds like you're, scratching it out. Right. And I do it just because I've already done it, and then I feel like I'm starting my day ahead of the curve.
Right.
Absolutely. And, something that I want to leave you all with is think about, like I said, you have to take different paths, and your struggles are real because they truly are. But look at Albert Einstein. He did over 1,000, you guys, 1,000, trials on different things, different, projects that he thought he could accomplish. And then it was like the 1,001 that became the light bulb. Okay, he never gave up. He fell forward to just try new things. Look at Denzel Washington. He wanted to go act, to be an actor. And at the age of 20, he was, failing in college. And his college said, hey, he had like a 1.5, I think. And they're like, hey, why don't you just maybe try to, take a break from college? And he's like, oh man, because he felt like he was at his low point. And he was at a barber shop that his mom owned, or a hair salon that his mom owned. And there was a lady sitting there that kept looking at him. And she's like, I just want to tell you, this is what I see for you. And it just came out of the blue. And here he is, 20 years old. He's like, okay, I'm at the lowest point in my life. What am I going to do? And sometimes it's just hearing something from somebody else that he decided to move forward and go on. And even his acting career, and I don't mean to talk about acting or, all these big celebrities, but everybody has these things, these failures, the things that they are going to stink at, but then try. Because if you ever thought that I would be a motivational speaker, I didn't think that I would be. I did not like to get in front of people. In fact, my high school year, I would scream in a pillow so I wouldn't have to do my speech because my voice was too raspy, so I couldn't do it. So I had the fear. Somehow it just, helping people, motivating them, assisting them, getting them to really discover themselves and see what their true potential is what made me step out and shine. And do I get nervous talking? Absolutely. If I didn't have a little bit of that in there, then, I wouldn't want to always try and be better to give people new information and to be more successful, because that's just how I'm driven. It's in my blood. It's in my bones. So I'd like to carry that on for other people. So everyone, please go out and try new things, especially now. Totally, just do it.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're speaking with Stacie Rene, motivational strategy speaker and mindset life coach. Stacie, how could people find out more information to connect with you or to get your book?
You can go to Amazon. It's called Positive Shift Ahead is the book, and it's a Amazon best-selling book. So hopefully you can get your 16 ways to redirect negative thoughts quickly. Hopefully you can get it. You will go to it a lot. Or you can go to www.stacierene.com, or just email me, stacie@stacierene.com. Would love to hear from you.
Also follow her on Instagram. You always have great posts.
Thank you. Yes, please follow. That would be great.
Stacie, again, as always, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great, successful day.
You too. Happy Monday.
Thanks.
Stacie Rene with us here on the Megacast. We'll take a quick break here on the show. When we come back, we'll kick off the second hour of the Megacast talking about baseball. The Detroit Tigers. That's next here on the Megacast.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
Welcome back to the Monday edition of the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Mr. Kelvin Brown. I know you guys thought I'd say Tyler. Tyler has never taken a day off in the year that I've been doing the show, but this week he is on vacation, so we have brought in backup to help out with the show to get it on the air. As a reminder, we're here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. And if you can't catch the full episode of the Megacast, you can go back and watch previous episodes. Just go to civiccentertv.com, click on Megacast, or if you just want to catch an individual interview, you can do so by hitting the on-demand section. And I know that today, the Detroit Lions have opened up their practices to the fans. And if you missed the interview with superfan Crackman, you should go back and listen to it. It's a great interview about him and some backstories about the Detroit Lions. But surprisingly enough, the Detroit Tigers, now one of the hottest tickets in town. Who would have thought that? Let's bring in Lynn Henning. He's a freelance baseball writer and contributor to the Detroit News. Lynn, great to have you on the show.
Good to join all of you good folks this morning.
So, Lynn, I will say the joke around here is I'm married to a sports guy, but I know nothing about sports.
No, that's not disqualifying, believe me.
You know, my biggest concern is the schedule and when he can get days off so that we can take a vacation, because it's like, oh, no, the Lions are playing here, or basketball here, or college here. So that is really my biggest thing. But if we brought Larry Nyland into the studio so that he could talk to you a little bit about baseball. But before we get there, Lynn, can I ask you, just what is your take on the Detroit Tigers so far this season, especially in the middle of COVID? Are the fans returning?
Yes, they are, and that's good to see. It's probably primarily tied to the fact that the ball team's a little bit better to see now. And that wasn't the case for a while. But a rebuilding team, it takes a long time in baseball. It really does. And I knew this one was going to be super long because of all of the variables that they were dealing with in terms of contracts and aged players and things that had gotten rolled up during the last years of Mike Ilitch's tenure. And so this one was going to be a marathon. And yet, I figured this year things would begin to brighten for them. And really, that's been the case. What happens in a rebuild is that you do get some surprises along the way. And they've gotten a few this year with Akil Baddoo and Eric Haas and Derek Hill and some people like that. And suddenly now they're pretty interesting because also they have the young pitching that people like to come out and see, whether it's Casey Mize or Tarek Skubal or Matt Manning. And that's, again, part of a team's revival and a team's reconstruction, is that you begin to get things going that fans suddenly are finding themselves interested in and attracted to.
So, Lynn, we're a couple weeks out from the Major League Baseball draft, and I know you were covering that extensively for months. I was following you on Twitter the night of the draft. When Marcelo Mayer fell to the Tigers at 6, you were convinced that he was coming there, and I was convinced that he was coming there, and the Tigers instead chose Jackson Jobe, the high school pitcher. So what was your thinking on why you thought the Tigers were going to take that, and then why they ended up taking Jobe instead?
I think going into the big team meetings, the powwows, the top secret stuff the week before the draft, I think Mayer still was probably number one to them. But Jobe, the more that they began to analyze the video and talk with the scouts during those few hours before the draft and those days just before the draft, I think the consensus changed. And I knew that they liked Jobe a great deal. If Mayer was gone, then it was going to be Jobe. I didn't think that they would choose Job over Meyer, and yet they did, which tells you everything about how convinced and how convicted they are that Job is really going to be an extraordinary pitcher, and he should be. If his health holds up, which is always the big if with pitchers, he really should be something quite superior. So that's the way it goes. Meyer was so good that the next team after Detroit, Boston, scooped him right up. So again, there was that anticipation, but they think Job has a chance to be a better pitcher than they thought Meyer had to be a shortstop, which means you're talking not only all-star talent, but really long-term all-star talent. And in Job, it's hard to argue with that right now based on what he is showing them.
Yeah, and with even if they had drafted Meyer, I mean, that's still a shortstop 4 years down the road, but the Tigers still have that gaping hole at shortstop. How do you think that is going to be addressed here coming up?
That's the question everybody asks, because I don't think you're going to see them go spend $300 million on Carlos Correa. And I really wouldn't advise them to do that. When you get into a contract that long and that expensive, you're taking an awful lot of risk. You're also boxing yourself in from being able to spend on other areas that you really need to. And I think that's what cost the Tigers a chance at a World Series back in 2013, is they were so overcommitted on salaries to so many other players, they didn't really have enough money to go out and do the bullpen repairs that they really should have been doing. And so that's where it gets you. And so shortstop, either they're going to be able to make a trade at some point, and I think had Spencer Turnbull not been injured, they could have dealt him for a very, very good shortstop prospect. Or they have to hope that one of their internal people comes up, whether it's Ryan Kreidler or someone like that. There's a possibility they can get some help there. But otherwise, it's going to be left either to a trade or to some free agency that is within their budget and get a player that can develop. But shortstop right now, I agree, Larry, that's their big, big, big issue.
I was watching some Double-A Erie baseball online the other day. Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green. If you had to guess what their timetable is on how close they are to being actually playing in Comerica Park, what would you say?
Yeah, I wrote about that this morning, in fact. I think you can expect Riley Green as early as out of camp next year, but probably more likely May or somewhere along those lines. Torkelson should be right behind him. And so let's say we're talking a year from now. Then I think we're talking about Green and Torkelson both being in the starting lineup. Dylan Dingler, there's not as much need to really rush him because Jake Rogers and Eric Haas clearly are taking care of the catching responsibilities right now in pretty good shape. And so they don't have to hurry him up, but Dingler's going to be pretty darn good. And then it becomes a matter of how quickly some of these pitchers they took even this year could be ready. And that might get to a Ty Madden situation. He's the college kid out of the University of Texas, and he might be ready to go even next season. So I think the fan base is going to like this infusion of fresh blood because it's going to be talented blood, and it will be arriving in pretty steady fashion here fairly quickly.
What are your thoughts on Matt Manning? He struggled a lot in AAA this year, and they decided to bring him up anyway. He's had flashes, looked good, giving up a lot of home runs. But what is his high end?
They knew they were bringing him up a little early, but they wanted Chris Fetter, the pitching coach, who was really, really, really good, to work with him. And they thought that that might be the better environment for him. Now, he's going to have his bumps, and we've seen a few. But the big thing with him, Larry, they're going to need to get him a fourth pitch. That slider that they've been working on with him is really important. If they can get the slider to come around, you're going to see Manning about where Mize is right now. And that means he's going to have the potential to really be a thoroughbred and a blue chip pitcher for them. So I'd keep my eye on that. I think Skubal will also, of course, polish and refine what are pretty remarkable skills that he brings. And then next year, I think a lot of people are forgetting they're going to be getting a couple of Tommy John pitchers back, and that's Joey Wentz, the left-hander, who's got a chance to be good. And so does Alex Faedo, one of their first-round picks from 17. And he'll be, I think, in a position to give them about what Tyler Alexander does now. So that is how you get a rotation stronger and deeper and better.
You made a reference to Akil Baddoo earlier. When you look at, I mean, it's a very rare thing for a player, a Rule 5 player, to come in and have that kind of success. But would he be having that kind of success if he was just called up to his Double-A team with the Minnesota Twins? Or is the fact that he's working with A.J. Hinch, with the top end coaches on the Tigers, I mean, would that make you think that, hey, maybe some guys are babied a little too much and not brought up quicker than maybe they could handle?
No, I think it's a combination of two things. First of all, you have to have the skills that Baddoo has, and they are really, really pretty extraordinary for particularly a Rule 5 player. But two things helped there. He had Tommy John surgery 2 years ago, which we know is unusual for an outfielder. And then you had the pandemic. So that enabled him in back-to-back seasons to sort of slip through the cracks. But the Tigers had scouted him very well. And that was a shrewd pickup. But he certainly would have been doing well at the minor league level this year, and maybe putting him in position to be a later call-up. But the Hinch and his staff, the ability to work with him and not overexpose and nurture him and really bring him along in expert fashion is part of the reason that he's having the success he is. And it's still going to be fragile. He might get tired, which is.
And it looks like Lynn may have frozen up there. We'll wait for that to kick back in.
This happens just about every day, at least once. So he should be back here in just a second.
You still with us, Lynn?
He's really good.
Yeah. So can you quantify the effect on this year's Tiger team that A.J. Hinch has had?
As much as any manager could influence a team, A.J. Hinch has left his imprint on the Tigers. You don't see that very often. Usually, and I've always been of this persuasion, a manager is as good as the players that he has around him. Hinch is even better than that. And he's very happy with this job, by the way. He liked what he saw coming in. He still likes what he sees, and he particularly likes what he thinks is coming over the horizon. But the Tigers stole him, and there's no doubt he would have been managing the Chicago White Sox if it hadn't been for Tony La Russa and the owner, Jerry Reinsdorf, having such a mutual affection. The Tigers got a break, and sometimes you're entitled to get some breaks along a rebuild road. And I think they were due not only Hinch, but Baddoo and a couple of other breaks here they've gotten this year.
So if you listen to any sports talk radio in the area, whenever the Tigers come up and there's complaining, it's always Al Avila. Is he too maligned? Is the criticism justified in some ways, or what are your thoughts on Al Avila right now?
Well, I understand the criticism. And a GM's always vulnerable on any particular front. But the thing that I really believe people needed to be fair about here, and this has nothing to do with Avila or any defense, but I knew this rebuild was going to be a very long process. And that's because Mike Ilitch in his waning years had taken on so many contracts and so many old players, and it was going to take a long time to get rid of that to where the rebuild could actually begin. And for that reason, I put the rebuild pretty much getting underway a couple of years ago. And this is about where I thought any GM would have this team. They were going to go through a gruesome few seasons, and then you were going to see things begin to arc upward. That's exactly what you're seeing this year. And again, when you add Torkelson and Green to the mix next year, and when you add Joey Wentz and Alex Faedo, when you have other pitchers like Job and Madden and others that are now in the hopper, what you're going to see is a team that can steadily get better. They will go into free agency where it makes sense. Chris Ilitch is not going to spend the way his dad did, but he's also not a skinflint. And so they will get into free agency. But Avila, I understand again why he's public enemy number one, but in all fairness, any other GM right now, everyone would have been saying they should be better. And this was going to be a gruesomely long process. So I'm not surprised by any of it. I think he's done an okay job. I'm not sure. I'd bet that other people would have done a lot better. I think right now they're in a position really to build a pretty good ball club here.
After the trade deadline last Friday, both Al and AJ Hinch said, this is the last year that we want to not do anything. We want to be buyers at next year's trade deadline. Do you think that's a realistic possibility?
Yes and no. I think there's as much chance they could still sell next year as there would be that they could buy. They might do both. And in that sense, I'd prepare for more deals, though, for sure, because the market is going to get more favorable because their talent is becoming more favorable and attractive to other teams. And that'll change the whole nature of trade deadline for the Tigers.
Just want to quickly get you. You've been a lifelong Detroiter there, Lynn. It seems like the teams are looking up everywhere. The Pistons just drafted the number 1 overall pick in Cade Cunningham. What are your thoughts on the overall Detroit sports scene right now?
Yeah, I got that question a couple of weeks ago. What team was going to get better the most quickly? And I said Pistons number 1, believe it or not, Lions number 2. And I thought the Tigers and Red Wings were tied for 3rd and that they were all moving north. And I believe that completely. It's easier to build in the NBA and even in the NFL than it is in hockey or in baseball. The latter two really take a lot of time to formulate rosters, but you can turn things around. Obviously, there are fewer players in the NBA and on their squads, and the NFL is always set up to turn over rapidly, and last year's winners can be this year's losers and vice versa very, very easily. The Lions now have a good front office, I'm convinced. And I really am convinced of that. And I think they're on their way. I think you're going to see vestiges of that this year, and that they're finally on here a proper NFL path. They've got some foundation, and they've got the ability now to put themselves into a competitive, potentially quickly a playoff situation. I like where the NFL is headed finally in Detroit.
All right, Lynn. Well, we want to thank you for all your time today. It was great catching up with you. And Ronnie, who is our next guest right now?
Next up is something I do know quite a bit about. Wine here in the state of Michigan. Lynn, great having you. Thank you as always for your insight. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to meeting you in person one day.
Enjoyed it, folks. Thanks for the conversation.
Thanks again. Cortney Casey with us next here. Blue Skies Brewery and Michigan by the Bottle. That's next here on the Megacast.
All right, Cortney, you can go ahead.
Can I ask you a question? Why'd you get vaccinated?
I'd like to go to these school dances and spring break to have fun.
I want to be in person for college next semester.
I want to get out of this pandemic.
I wanted to protect the people around me.
Why did you get vaccinated?
Because I'm really looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I just want to go to a show, dance around, not have to worry about anything, feel like I'm free again.
So we can not miss out on the best years of our life.
How does marijuana affect the teen brain?
Our brains are still developing into our 20s.
With regular use, marijuana can affect teen brain development.
It can affect our brain's circuitry and blood flow and impair thinking, learning, and memory function,
which could hold us back from reaching our potential.
Don't let marijuana mess with your brain.
Get the facts at michigan.gov/drug-free.
Here's one more reason to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your shot to win. Anyone 18 years or older in Michigan vaccinated between December 1st, 2020 and July 30th, 2021 is now eligible to win millions in cash prizes, including $1 million jackpots and $50,000 daily prizes. And vaccinated students could win thousands in college scholarships. For eligibility details and to enter, go to mishottowin.com.
Trevor Project is sharing how you can support LGBTQ youth who may be at risk.
It's simple. Just show them that you care. C-A-R-E. Connect. If you noticed any warning signs of suicide from someone you know, reach out to them.
Ask. Ask directly, are you thinking about killing yourself? It might be challenging, but talking about suicide is proven to reduce risk.
Respond. If they open up to you about their suicidal ideation, honor that trust by responding with compassion and empathy.
Empower. Talking openly is a great first step, but now you can empower them with the information and the support they need to improve their situation.
Learn more about how you can show them you care and help prevent LGBTQ youth suicide. Visit trvr.org/care.
Great to have you with us here on the Monday edition of the Megacast, and thanks for hanging with us as well. About 35 minutes left in the show, and I have to say, Calvin, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job, too.
I know there are so many buttons to push over there. It used to be kind of a one-person show when we were over in the radio station. Mm-hmm. And then when we moved it over here in the TV studio, things got a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
And it really does take two people. I know Tyler does occasionally do the show by himself, like last week when I was out because of my back. But he's so... he knows the studio inside and out, so he's kind of able to do it. But it's a lot to navigate. I think you're doing a great job, Calvin.
Thank you so much. A lot of shiny buttons, and I want to press them all. I have to hold myself back.
Hey, as a reminder, we're always here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon. You can catch us Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15, Comcast 99 on AT&T. Listen to us on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The BIP, but you can also catch us on Facebook because we live stream the show each and every day as well. Just about 35 minutes left here in the show, and I will say excited to see that this next guest, that their business is starting to pick back up, because it's been such a tough year and a half for so many people in the restaurant business. With us now, we want to bring back in Cortney Casey. She's the managing partner for Blue Skies Brewery and Michigan by the Bottle. Great to have you with us again, Cortney. How are you? Hey, it's funny because my girlfriends are going there Thursday, and the email's going around, hey, who's going to be able to make it Michigan by the Bottle? So it's definitely a very well-loved establishment. And before we jump into the brewery side, how are things going at Michigan by the Bottle?
Things are going great right now. Definitely, it's one of those things where the last few times we talked, things were looking pretty challenging, but ever since earlier this summer, things have really been picking up. We've been putting tons of new events on the calendar. People are feeling a lot more comfortable about getting out and about, and so things have been really picking up, and it's really been wonderful to see, and it's really been wonderful to be putting events on the calendar instead of taking them off.
It really is. It's one of those things where we start to appreciate the little things again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But can I ask you, is business enough to help you overcome the loss that you had over the last year and a half?
Summer is actually usually our slower season, so I think things are pretty good right now. I think the fall will really tell what things are going to look like going forward, just because fall and winter, and especially around the holiday season, are really our busiest times. And last year we lost that holiday season for the most part. We were still able to be open for carryout and that sort of thing, but we did lose all that really festive atmosphere of having the holidays and people coming in, hanging out with their families and their friends, and so I think that'll really be the determining factor. But luckily we were really fortunate to get some grants and some other assistance and that sort of thing. The city of Auburn Hills especially has been super supportive of us, so that has really helped us out. And so I think we're going to be okay. Things are looking pretty good right now. So just fingers crossed. It's really nerve-wracking with the whole Delta variant situation coming back up. I know none of us want to be hitting cancel on all those events again and have another shutdown. We just finally got back to pretty much full staffing. That took quite a while. So yeah, fingers crossed that we can keep going from here, because things are pretty good right now. But if we have to shut down again, it's going to be really, really tough for everybody. So.
Right, and especially going into the fall season as well, because you wouldn't be able to have the outdoor dining like we were able to do last year. And we can all admit, the little, glass gazebos and all of that, they were cute. They were cute. For 1 year. Next year,
right. Yeah. They were also a pain. I mean, our staff loved them in the way that they had business. We had business and we could keep going, but at the same time, they hated them. So, because you still have to go out in the cold and serve people in the cold. And it was like you said, it was fun. It was a novelty. I don't know that we'll do it again this year unless we have to, just because it was quite the undertaking. But it was nice to be able to give people that experience to come in and actually have, sit down with a glass of wine somewhere other than their living room. But, logistically, it's not the easiest thing to do.
So can I ask you, too, because obviously Michigan by the Bottle, you highlight and specialize in all the Michigan wineries. And we know last year, Traverse City was crazy busy because so many people were taking off and going up north to the wineries. Has that kind of helped your business because they were introduced to so many Michigan wines, then they come home, and it makes it easier for them to be able to find it here locally?
Yeah, I think in a way that does help us. It also, during the summer, though, a lot of people are going up to the winery. So I know our friends up north and out in Southwest Michigan, where there's also a wonderful wine country, they're telling us they're seeing so many guests. And so we find that a lot of those people go there during the summer, and then we get them during the fall and winter when they come, they're back at home and they want to have that experience without having to drive. So it's kind of like a give and take. For our partner wineries, summer is usually busier in the early fall when the leaves look beautiful. And then we start getting our busy season on the opposite of theirs, which is, that holiday season. And when people are really staying close to home because they don't know what the weather's going to be like. So it's kind of like it's good symbiotic relationship between us and our partner wineries. So.
Cortney Casey with us again here on the Megacast. She's the managing partner for Blue Skies Brewery and Michigan by the Bottle in Auburn Hills. And can we ask you, how are things going over at Blue Skies? Because you opened up literally right when the pandemic happened. I mean, timing couldn't have been worse.
The timing was absolutely awful. Obviously not planned that way, but as we talked about on the previous episodes, the way things shook out, we ended up opening for carryout right in the middle of the shutdown. And so it was really slow going last year. I mean, it took a long time to really build up that customer base because of, we were open, we were closed, we were open, we were closed. And, it was tricky, but we are finally really getting our footing there. It's been really busy. People love being outside on our patio. And we also have the indoor seating. We have music on Thursdays and Saturdays, and we have trivia on Mondays, and those have all been doing really, really well. We've been adding to our food options. So in general, it's really heartening to see because, you always have that. You think you have a great thing going. I mean, I know that we have great beer and a great staff and a great environment, but there's still that nagging doubt when you have this huge thing like a pandemic that nobody can control, interfering with all of your best laid plans. You're always a little bit worried, like, is this going to get derailed? And it definitely hasn't. It's been really going well. And we actually, because, you can never open too many hospitality businesses during a pandemic, we actually opened a pop-up coffee shop inside the brewery. So now we have 3 beverage things going on just because, you can never have too many projects. So that's our Layover Coffee is our coffee shop inside the brewery. So that just kicked off in June.
But we always need coffee.
Yeah, we've got the entire beverage spectrum really covered here. Now we just need a distillery and we're good to go.
So with that, with the pandemic, because it's not in the rearview mirror just yet, how has it changed how you're managing the businesses?
I think it's one of those things where you really start feeling that whole saying where it's like, relax, nothing is under control. I actually think that the pandemic, weirdly enough, one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that I'm really a type A personality, and I really want to control everything, and I think this has all really shown me that, if I just relax a little, things do end up working out, even if they don't seem like they're going to work out at the time, just because of the circumstances. And it's actually given me a lot of impetus to delegate to our amazing team. They've been asking me for more responsibilities for so long, and I've been kind of like clutching those close to me because I'm such a control freak, and I think they're kind of happy that I've loosened up a little bit. So, I'm like, they're like, we can handle this. I'm like, yes, you can. Like, we all made it through a pandemic. We all made it through this, and you guys are rocking it. So yeah, okay, let's start looking at how we can have me loosen up a little.
It's like, we're going to start you off with coffee, then go to wine, and then we're going to, here's some beer too. So loosen up, step out of the way, let us do our thing. And with that, Cortney, too, how are you doing on the employee front? Because there's such a shortage of trying to get people to work right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been really challenging. And I think that's one of my biggest fears about if there's another shutdown is that, every time there's a shutdown, we lose people due to various circumstances. And I know a lot of people talk about, the loss of employees due to the unemployment funding that was coming out. But one of the things I think is really played a role in not having enough people in hospitality is that like me, a lot of people everybody changed with the pandemic. And I think there were a lot of people who were working two jobs. A lot of our employees, this is their second job. I think a lot of people in general in the hospitality industry who were working a second job realized that they wanted to slow down their lives. They wanted to take more times for their family, themselves, and they maybe didn't want to have that second job, that it wasn't worth it to dedicate that time, even if they enjoyed the job. And then there was a lot of people that didn't want to be out in public or now have childcare situations that were different than what they were before. So I think that's all kind of combining to create this difficulty in the hospitality industry. And that said, we have been very fortunate that we have been able to hire quite a few people over the last few months, and they're all awesome and really settling in. So it's been tricky. It's definitely, for a while there, we were not getting a lot of applications and we were a little worried, but now they're really flowing in. And so we're getting back up to that full speed sort of situation.
And that's good to have. So you haven't had to do any of these crazy bonuses that some of the other restaurants have had to offer, have you?
We're not doing that, but we had talked about before the pandemic actually raising our the way we pay our employees, and there's we do our minimum, and then there's tips involved and everything. And so we decided to, before the pandemic, we had been talking about raising that, and then everything happened, and we didn't know whether we were still going to exist. And so now that we're settled and everything, a few months ago we did raise the minimum that everybody's going to make, and so we are doing that, and that is something we were discussing before. But we're right now we're not doing $1,000 hiring bonuses, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. We don't really have that extra cash floating around right now, but so we are very fortunate that we've been able to get some really amazing people back on the team and start to move forward from here. So,
well, and we should know as well, I think one thing that's not talked about when we talk about the restaurant industry, when it comes to bartenders and servers, they're not working for the hourly minimum. Yeah. I mean, most of them get that check and they're like, what? Kind of throw it away. They're working for the tips. Mm-hmm. And from what I've seen and heard, I know people are tipping more than they ever were before because of the shortage of employees. So even if it's taking a little bit longer to get your food or to get service, they're understanding and appreciating people being on the job, so they're tipping more. Is that the case in your restaurants as well?
Yeah, we've definitely been finding that. We're so grateful for that. You do hear the horror stories about people who think that things are just going to be back to normal, who don't seem to realize that there's a staffing shortage in most places. But for the most part, 99.9% of people, they know, they get it, they see it. And the thing that I think all hospitality businesses are trying to ask their customers is to, the world is short-staffed. There was a meme, it's like, the world is short-staffed, don't take it out on the people who showed up. So luckily the vast majority of our guests have definitely taken that to heart and have been tipping very generously. And I know our employees are very, very grateful for that. We're very grateful for that. We had our first winemakers dinner a couple of weeks ago, our first one in person since the pandemic. And the tips were astronomical, and we were so like afterwards we were like almost crying with happiness, because people were so generous, and it's just it means a lot. And so I know when I go out to eat at a restaurant, I know I pack my patience, and I make sure I tip very well, because these are hard times, and everyone's trying to make up for this lost year basically. So if there's anything I could tell people is just please be patient with people, because everyone's doing their best, and the people who showed up are there, they're doing their best, and a lot of people are doing their job with half the staff that they had before. So
Cortney Casey with us here on the Megacast. She's the managing partner for Blue Skies Brewery and Michigan by the Bottle in Auburn Hills. And Cortney, just another minute or two with you, because I know your time is valuable, but can I have you clarify exactly what is the Sipper Club? Because this sounds like a club I need to be a part of.
Well, we would love for you to be part of it. That's our wine club, and actually our pickup week for Auburn Hills is this week. And basically it's a club where you sign up and you tell us what kind of wines you like, and we pick out the wines for you based on your preferences. And we assemble them for you. You come pick them up. We have pickup parties twice a year at each location. You come get some freebies when you come pick up. And it's kind of like Christmas when everybody comes in and gets their shipments, and they pull out the wines and see what's in there, and they get all excited. Sometimes I think they forget that they actually paid for that wine, but they look so happy when they pull out their wines and they see the things that we put all this thought into, just because we think they would like it. And they get different perks throughout the year as well. They can sign up for our events before anybody else. They can get discounts on glass pours, on our corkage fee. There's members only events. We haven't had many of those lately because of COVID, but hopefully we'll be able to get back to those soon, where they come in and they get free wine, or we have like barbecues for them and that sort of thing. And yeah, they get all kinds of different perks, discounts, and so we have I want to say over 1,000 members between the 3 stores. So wow. It's really taken off, and we're really grateful for that. So
Cortney, give us your locations again before we say goodbye to you.
Sure, yeah. So Michigan by the Bottle, we are in Shelby Township, Royal Oak, and Auburn Hills. Blue Skies Brewery, Auburn Hills, is next to our Michigan by the Bottle, Auburn Hills location. And then our Layover Coffee shop, which opened in June, is inside Blue Skies, Auburn Hills, and that's open 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day, with all kinds of different coffee and tea drinks. Brewing Great Lakes coffee, so keeping it local, and also pastries from Almont Baking and Donut Company in Almont.
Well, it's always great talking to you, and we wish you and your team continued success. And your husband, after all this, he can have a second career as a grant writer.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I don't know how people do it if they don't have a husband like mine, because he's very into those details and very into keeping up on that stuff. And without him, we couldn't have done it. So,
well, it's been great talking to you. As always, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Cortney Casey.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always Blue Skies Brewery and Michigan by the Bottle. Please continue to support local. Be nice when you go out. It's still a tough time for so many people. Your servers, your staff. Be nice and overtip. With that, we'll take a break here on the Megacast. Just about 15 minutes left in the show. And when we come back, we're going to be talking money, money, money. That's next here on the Megacast.
And Gabrielle, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Be with us here on the Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studio hanging out with Mr. Calvin Brown,
Hi.
who is being so kind to help us out this week as Tyler has earned some very well-deserved vacation time. I've been on the show for over a year now, and I think this is the first vacation day he's ever taken.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the show for a few hours, and this is the first time he's ever been on vacation with me around too. So.
Well, we hope he's having fun, but it's great to have you with us as well. We appreciate you helping out. And as a reminder to everyone, of course, you can catch previous episodes of the Megacast. Go to civiccentertv.com, click on Megacast. There you can watch full episodes, or if you want to do the on-demand section, you can do that just by clicking on demand. And we really have been so lucky to have so many great guests. I know Senator Gary Peters has been on the show, along with so many of our local leaders as well, and chiefs of police, and we always learn something new each and every day. And excited to bring in our next guest. I believe this is the first time we're having him on the show. David Thomas joins us now. He's an associate partner for Podium Risk Management. Great to have you with us, David. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ronnie. Thank you for having me.
We like to end the show talking about money, money, money. How can you make my money grow?
I can't give you too many specifics, but I'm just getting into this business with Podium Risk Management. Joined the company about a month ago, and left the Michigan State basketball program as director of operations, and now I'm working with somebody the community may know, Paul Davis. He played at Michigan State as well. Manny Amesqua, who is our CEO and founder. Working with them, learning the industry, and making a career change has been a great thing for me, and I'm very excited to be part of Podium Group.
Well, it's great to hear that you're taking a leap of faith and making a career change in the middle of a pandemic. But with that, how does basketball and your experience in sports relate to this pivot in your career midlife?
Yeah, you know what? I think I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. After playing for Michigan State, went overseas and played 8 years in professional basketball. Was able to play for my home country of Canada in the World Championships, and done and seen some amazing things through the game of basketball. So, when I came back from playing basketball and hung them up, I hate to say I retired at 32. That sounds so crazy, you retire at such a young age. But I retired at 32, hung them up, and with my brother-in-law and myself, we started a car wash and detail business. And we had that for about 3 or 4 years, and then moved on from there. But I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And being with Podium right now, there's a lot of that in there, and it's an opportunity to, the ceiling is as high as I want it to be. And it's all about how much you put in. And that's what entrepreneurs do, the harder you work, the more you put in, typically, the better off you'll be. And leaving basketball was a hard decision for me. I worked with Coach Izzo for 6 years and Susie Merchant for 1 year. Coach Izzo being a Hall of Fame coach, and I've gotten a lot of great nuggets from him, especially in terms of leadership and preparing a team and working to strive, working to accomplish a goal. All great stuff that I learned from him as an employee as well as a former student athlete.
So if I can ask you, how did a kid from Ontario end up playing basketball at MSU?
You know what, Ronnie? Back then, I say back then, I'm aging myself, but
that's okay. We don't do math here on the show.
And you are retired. So.
Okay, good. I do a little bit of math. I'm in that industry now, so I should know a little bit of math. But in 1996, Coach Izzo came up to a gym up in Toronto, and I just happened to be in the gym. He wasn't even coming there to look at me. He was coming to look at another kid, and he saw me play, liked how I was performing that night, and basically said, "I'd like you to come on and visit." And the rest is, as they say, history. Since I've been here since 1996, I had a couple other scholarship offers, well, quite a few scholarship offers. But once I came on this visit to Michigan State, I knew this was it. And it was an unbelievable run here at Michigan State, part of the 2000 National Championship team, which is, it was phenomenal, and a lifetime of memories just from that year alone. But that's how it all started. That's how I'm in this country doing what I do. I was able to meet my beautiful wife Tony at Michigan State, and we now have 3 kids, and we're living life.
We're talking with David Thomas. He's the associate partner for Podium Risk Management. And if I can ask you, tell us more about Podium Risk, because I know that you're really a boutique industry for certain types of people.
Absolutely. So our CEO and founder, Manny Mezwa, amazing individual. And really the reason I took that leap of faith and jumped into this industry, I had a sit down with him a couple years ago, and I knew I wanted to work for the guy. So, but we also have Paul Davis on as a partner. And he is, I saw Paul transition from basketball into what he's doing now with Podium. And he's just grown so much, and it was really good to see, and it's something that I want to be a part of. But Podium, what we do is we're a national planning practice specializing in insurance strategies for active and retired athletes, C-suite executives, business owners, as well as their companies. We do some worksite benefits, and it's basically a branch, a separate shop under the umbrella of Mass Mutual Great Lakes.
So with that, can I ask you, do you all get together and play a game of horse and then make some bets on the side?
You know what? I was having dinner or lunch this past Friday with one of my former teammates, Jason Andreas, and he now is in the Birmingham area and working for Google. But we talked about one of our other former teammates, Matt Ishbia, and he said, DT, you got to come down. Matt has these basketball runs every Tuesday at his house, and you got to come play. I said, Jay, I can't do that. I mean, I barely have one knee left, let alone a back, or, it's going to be trouble. I hope you guys have the ambulance and paramedics on standby. So no, I don't get out there too much. I may try to get out there and run with those guys a little bit, but no, now it's all about swinging that golf club and playing basketball with my kids.
Hey, if your back goes out, mine's out right now. I have some CBD freeze right here. I'll share it with you. This stuff is like $90. It's not cheap.
I heard. Are you doing okay? You getting through the day?
This is the first day I was telling them that I've been out of my house since Wednesday. The muscle relaxer.
Yeah.
They were only $1.97. My CBD freeze was $90. Let me tell you. So I haven't froze up yet. So we'll see when I try to actually get out of the chair how things go, David. Can I tell you, or just ask you though, do you miss playing basketball?
I do. It was, and sometimes I look back and I always tell people, when I was at Michigan State, a lot of the things that I tell our student athletes, I had opportunity to be mentored to a lot of the kids who came through in the last 6 years, but it was don't live with regrets. And the one regret I have is maybe giving it up a little too early. Like I said, I stopped playing when I was 32, mainly due to injuries. But I do wish I would have stuck it out for a year or two more. But that said, we all have a path, we all have a journey, and nobody knows exactly how that's going to turn out. But things happen for a reason, and I feel like I was blessed to finish when I did. Have an opportunity to work with Coach Izzo and his staff. I mean, an unbelievable program at Michigan State, and one of the top 5 in the country for the last 20 years. And that has led me to where I am now. So Yeah, I do. I do miss the game. But now with Podium, I have an opportunity to work with athletes. So I still have my foot in it a little bit. I can, advise and talk to athletes about, what's to come in their careers. And then those that are transitioning. I've been there too. I didn't make the NBA. I was close, but, I did transition from being an athlete to being in corporate America. And that's hard. That's hard to do for athletes. But the good thing about it is a lot of these corporations really love having athletes as employees.
Well, and I would think that your experience and your journey is really going to help attract new clients to the company as well, because we do know so much of it is about relationships, and you've walked in their shoes.
100%, Ronnie. I mean, it's so much about relationship, just being a good person. I like to think that I am, and I know that Manny and Paul and everybody on our crew in our shop are good people at heart, and that's who you want to work with. Especially coming out of COVID, people are reassessing their lives and who they interact with and what they do, where they go. And so for us, it's just being genuine and being your own, being true to yourself and true to the people who you're around.
David Thomas with us here on the Megacast, Associate Partner, Podium Risk Management, and also he was a member of MSU's 2000 National Championship Basketball Team. 2000. I remember playing funnel when I was a little kid and saying, in the year 2000, it seemed like it was so far off, and now it's 20 years behind us, 21. That's crazy, isn't it?
Isn't that nuts? Do you remember 1999 and the new year was coming up and everybody's like, oh no, the world's going to end. Computer's going to break down. It was just crazy thinking about where we were.
I was working at Fox 2. I was producing the weekend morning show. And we were like, okay, here's midnight. Are we going to crash?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we had no problems, and I had to go on producing the show. 2 hours. It was a long show, let me tell you.
I guess we're still going. Anyways, keep going with it.
Hey,
David, how can people get in touch with you? Because you guys only work with a certain type of clientele, correct?
We do. But
like a Joe Schmo like me with, just coins in my pocket, can't walk in there.
No, you absolutely can, Ronnie, and I'd be happy to call you and talk to you offline about some of our products. But no, that's our ideal client, I guess. I guess that's who our shop is targeting. However, the need for education about life insurance, we all need. I'm learning so much in my new role that I've signed up my whole family, working on signing up my whole family with additional life insurance, just because I see the benefit of it. And God forbid something should happen yesterday and we not be here. Are our affairs in order to take care and leave a legacy and generational wealth for our loved ones? And that's what we're about, is helping business owners exit the business if they choose to. How are they going to do it? Can they do it with life insurance? Also, the 65 and older crowd is coming. It's growing so fast right now, and all of those individuals are going to need to transition. So, we're just there to help them transition and leave something to their loved ones.
It's especially during COVID, it's like you said, we've all had to stop and reevaluate our lives, and they are very lucky to have you on the team there. David Thomas, Associate Partner for Podium Risk Management. We wish you the best of luck in your new position.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on our team. And when your other knee goes out, call me. We'll play a game of horse.
I need some of that CBD.
With that, we want to say thank you again, David Thomas, for taking time to be with us here on the Megacast. Just about a minute left in the show, and we also want to say thank you, Calvin, for being with us. You'll be here all week as well, and punching the buttons, doing a great job, feeling comfortable over there?
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable. I think I'll be pushing buttons the rest of my life.
I do too, but just not those buttons.
Yeah, we'll see.
I've been pushing the buttons of my husband for over the past few days, as he's been my, my helper throughout my back crisis. And so with that, though, Tyler is out the rest of the week. I'll be here a couple days. I think Dave Scott's going to be in a couple days if he can manage to break free from his very busy schedule. So we'll try to get you through the rest of the week here on the Megacast. But as always, we want to say thank you to Ryan and Larry and the team behind the scenes for helping us get the episode on. It's been funny to watch because there's about 5 people in here helping to get the show on, because that's how many people it takes to replace Tyler. So.
Yeah, he's really one man's army.
I don't think they appreciate it until someone's gone.
Yeah,
so
we do.
But thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Megacast. We'll be back tomorrow, starting bright and early, 10 a.m. And as a reminder, you can always catch previous episodes, Channel 15 on Comcast, 99 on AT&T, or check out the Megacast on CivicCenterTV.com. This has been the Oakland County Megacast.
Thanks.